All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rechakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations unto the Akim I heard pushing his gospel in truth and sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is Brother Corner Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Lord will, it is edifying. Lord will, it is straight to the point. And what you're looking at right here, man, is the installation of a digital system. Right, as you read right here, it's on the Newsweek.com. It says Medicare will start using AI to help make coverage decisions next year. And as you see, this was published, yesterday, right, August 8th, 2025 at 5:53 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as it says right there, EDT. So this is fairly new. It says starting in January, Medicare will test out an artificial intelligence AI pilot program to decide whether patients get certain procedures covered or not. Right? So it's not just going to be, you ultimately having to go to your doctor, your doctor ultimately sitting there going through, your insurance, going back and forth with the insurance company, deciding whether, your whatever procedure it is, right, is ultimately covered under insurance, right? It's ultimately going to be AI, which is ultimately now going to make the decision, as we just read. It says the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, will use AI to help make prior authorization decisions via the new wasteful and inappropriate service reduction model, right? It says, but the final decision will be made by an employee, according to the agency, right? Which, of course, they had to throw that in there, right? It says why it matters, right? It says AI has made a significant impact in the workforce, education, healthcare, and beyond. And see, this is also why you've seen a lot of these companies, ultimately firing people, right? Intel, I think, laying off 7,000 people, right? Because they deal in, like the internet, so on and so forth. So they don't necessarily need, those physical employees, They start laying them off, all these tech giants, right? Like they're doing all these mass layoffs, You gotta, it says education, right? You got this new thing where kids can go to school, using AI, right, online, going to AI. And they say that basically, AI can, teach, your children, everything that they need to know, right, in a year, but really in about 2.5, 3 months. And then it says what now? Healthcare, right? Now you got Medicare, Medicaid using or going to introduce, the use of AI, as we're reading. It says while some remain hesitant about its usage and the possibility of it eliminating human jobs, AI tools have been linked to greater efficiency for more companies. While traditional Medicare has typically had fewer prior authorization requirements, then Medicare Advantage, the use of AI could speed up coverage decisions and also potentially lead to higher denials of coverage, experts say. And you best believe that's what's ultimately going to happen, man. Esau Edom, right, ultimately made AI and ultimately tried to instill and write his own algorithms in there within AI. And we understand that Esau Edom has, a perpetual hatred, right, towards you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? We read that in Ezekiel 35:5, right? So you best believe, man, especially when it comes to you Israelites, man, right, with this AI, getting involved, man, Esau gonna ultimately make it to where you Jakes, right, are gonna be at, the forefront of all those denials, and whatnot, man. Even if you do got, Medicare, Medicaid, or you got some type of health insurance, you're paying your premium, Esau's still gonna make it to where your ass get denied, man. It says what to know, and this is heavy, man, because this is the step, of the direction of, the mandatory implementation of the RFID micro CHIP, man, right? Because they can sit here and say, hey, your insurance ultimately requires you, to take this, this CHIP if you want to have surgery or something like that, man. Again, that's just speculation, right? How they can come about it, but we understand, right? The Esau, he aims to bribe people, right, into taking, this CHIP, just like he did, which is that trial run, right? The Crown Vic Royale, back in 2019, 2020, he was basically, bribing people, right, to take those jabs, those icky vickies, man, or joints for jabs, or we'll give you, free food, or, money, or whatever it was, man, right? Esau was, ultimately making those bribes, right, which is what Esau does, right? And he's going to do that, right? He's going to utilize this and say, hey, if you want to be able to get this surgery, you got to take this CHIP, or your insurance requires you to take this CHIP, right? So that way we can, and again, right, they're making the statement that, that they want to be able to keep track of your health and this, that, and the third, right? Which is why you see, what is that? I think it was not United Healthcare, but basically, the whole health sector, right, is going to be adopting, that as Trump signed into executive order, right? That push of a button, they're going to be able to receive all your information and your data, and that they're going to be, basically sharing that data amongst, the different, sports fits apps and whatnot, right? Your doctor will be able to see all that data, right, and have all of your help, because they want to be able to keep track of you, right? RFK Jr., I was talking about, making it to where, all Americans have some type of wearable device, so that way they can keep track of people's health, So it's like, come on now, right? We're gonna get to Esau's, he's starting to have all this, the healthcare sector start to adopt, this digital system, right? And now they're introducing AI, man, and this could, ultimately be another, avenue in which Esau takes it, man, which all roads lead to the MO to the TB, either way it happens, right? We understand that this is something that is prophesied to take place, and it's gonna take place, right? But Esau could very well use, right, your surgery, it's like, yeah, you needing surgery, right, in order to they say you got to take this CHIP in order and if you want that surgery, it's it's in their contract, right? That's the agreement that we have with the insurance company, again, just speculation, but it very well could take place, right? This is Psalms 26 and verse 10. It says, in whose right hand, it's like, in whose hand is mischief, and their right hand is full of bribes, right? Bribing you, man, right? But see, again, it's just, it's a facade, right? Matter of fact, let's look up that word bribe, right? At this thing stolen, said vagrant, thieves, someone looking for it to break. Right here, gift given to influence corruptly, right? Gift given to influence corruptly, right? Esau wants you to do something, right, that you're not supposed to do, and is ultimately, going to, give you something that, that you want, right, in order for, him to get what he wants, man. This is how this damn devil works, man. Right, as it says, right, who in whose hand is mischief, right? The scriptures talk about, Esau, can't go to sleep lest he cause them to fall, man. Right, so he is just, he studies, right? He lives and breathes wickedness, evil. Like, the other apostles brought this out, in their, street teaching earlier. earlier today, right? Micah 2:1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand." Right? So Esau studies this, man. He can't, Esau's on the clock 24/7 studying wickedness. Right? This is who he is. This is what he does. And now we're seeing him, ultimately laying that trap for you Jakes, man. Right? Because again, this is who, it's toward, right? Esau Edom, right? Despises you Israelites, right? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and he ultimately, right, wants to trap you, right, by getting you to accept this, badge of servitude, right? As we read in Revelations chapter 13 and verse 16, it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads," right? And when you go into this word mark, this word mark, right? Strong's G 5480 charagma, right? It says a stamp, an imprinted mark. It says the thing carved, sculpted, engraved, but it says right here, i.e., a scratch or etching, i.e., as a badge of servitude. So he wants to make you his perpetual slave, man. Right? You're already his debt slave, right? You ultimately are born with debt, and you ultimately take on your parents' debts and whatnot, right? You go and look at the debt clock, right? It tells you each individual person's debt within the world, I think, or within America. My bad, Slacky. Within America, right? It tells you each and every individual citizen's debt, And Esau aims to make you a perpetual slave, man, via this charagma, right? Which will ultimately set himself up, as a god over you, right? He'll be able to track everything that you do. He'll have all your information. Right? Because we've gone into it, recently, right? When you go into that second root word, right? Going into this, the word charagma, right? It goes back to, grapho, which means to the right, right? Information, So all your information is going to be on this device, and he'll be able to have access to it, man. This is why you see access being given, with these different, major companies and whatnot, access to data and whatnot being given, right? The collection and access to data is being given and spread around, because the government is going to be able to have full access to all your data, as this, this digital system, right, gets further installed. He aims to make you and attach you to this digital system via the charagma, right? Via this RFID micro chip, who he's ultimately going to force, right, the masses, to take, Oh, you want, again, right? And this is a point of, him, bribing, just another avenue of which how he can do it, right? This is prophecy, right? This is something that, has not been fulfilled, right? We can ultimately warn you, right? Scriptures say, we know in part, we prophesy in part. We understand it's coming, right? We don't necessarily know, how it's ultimately, going to play out, right? But we can ultimately, show you via the scriptures, right, how it could play out, right? Esau being the wicked, right? We know that he has shown himself to be someone to try to bribe, people to do something he wants, right? As it says right there, a gift, right, given, right, to influence corruptly, right? He wants to, ultimately get the people to do something, that is really, against them, right, but for him, and we're bringing it out, thus saith the scriptures, man, right? Let's go to this. It says, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." So, hey, you want, these this section 8. You want these food stamps. You want, to get this surgery. You want this, that, and the third. You're gonna have to take this charagma. You're gonna have to take this RFID micro chip. These are the times that we're in. This is what's coming, right? Again, as we see the installation of this digital system, right? We know through the Spirit and power, Yahweh Bashem Shah, what it's leading to, you know. But I'll end it with this in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. You know, and this was quick, you know, MOTB update. Habakkuk 2 and 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and it's speaking loud and clear, right? It says, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry, and it's here, right? We're in these times, man, you know. So just keep praying, keep watching, you know. And again, let me emphasize, right? Keep praying to Yahweh Bashem El Shai, you know. We're almost out of here. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash, double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, the elders, the great millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.